Minions, welcome! I am the Overlord, and we're here to find out what's to roguelike about Slay the Spire. That's right, the one, the only. It's been around for a while, but the reason why I'm doing this video today is because, look down here, build version 1.0, it's out of early access. So if you've been waiting for the game to come out and be fully complete, then here you go. Slay the Spire kind of popularized this card game deck building roguelite experience. And as you can see right off the bat, we have daily climbs, we have custom runs, there's a lot of things. If you want to edit all of the stuff, you can sort of create your own fun. It has Steam Workshop mod support now, which there's some freaking amazing mods. I might have to do some videos or a stream or something where I do tons of mods. So if you want to see that, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments, like, you want to see mods, and I'll play them. I have, full disclosure, played like 200 hours of this throughout all the run history, got all the Chivos, discovered all the things, beat all the things. It's great, tons of fun, and I think it's worth a look. So what is this? How do you play it? Well, we're going to turn off Ascension mode. Once you beat the game with the character, you unlock Ascension mode, and that will allow you to spice things up, make enemies deadlier, make enemies tougher. It's good stuff. We're going to play the Ironclad, because that's one of the first classes. I think it's a pretty good beginner class. And we start out, we have Laboon from One Piece, and he's going to give us the option of getting some sort of bonus. You get more bonuses if you make it past the first boss in your previous run. As you can see here, this is the map of this floor. So we're going to choose a path, and we are going to then see where we can see how far we can get. There's the boss up here. Once you play the games a few times, you'll learn what these symbols are. This is the Hexaghost boss, so I can keep that in mind as I sort of chart out the best path, wanting to hit a bunch of elites because they give you relics, which are passive buffs that are super awesome, and you want to stack those as much as you can. Looks like we're only going to get maybe 1 or 2 elite fights here, so I'm thinking we'll start there. But first, we're going to choose our upgrade. Now that we know what our path is, we don't want to obtain a curse. Curse are bad cards that go in your deck and have negative effects, and they're not even playable, so that's not good. We can lose our starting relic to get a random boss relic. That's a lot of fun. You can have a lot of great runs with that. But to keep things basic and to show you sort of what you would expect if you haven't played this game yet and are tempted to, well, you can get. I am going to upgrade a card for free. I'm going to upgrade Bash. Each card can be upgraded one time. There is an exception. There is one card that you can upgrade as many times as you want, but obviously it will give you a better version of the card. So instead of applying 8 damage and 2 vulnerable, which I like how it says right there that vulnerable creatures take 50% more damage from attacks. That's great UI. It's like, hey, now you have 10 damage and 3 vulnerable. There you go, a nice little animation there. When I first played this game, I wasn't too fond of the art style. I thought it was kind of weird, but it really does all fit together. Compared to some of the other things I've played, this is far more coherent, and I really do appreciate that. It's something that I sort of took for granted before, and now it's just like, oh yeah, no, this is all like someone's artistic vision. And it all comes together to create this like weird, mysterious, what is the Spire? It's strange, no one really understands it, but you have to slay it anyway and discover the secrets along the way. And that's pretty much the narrative of the game too. Hey, there's a Spire, there's some spooky stuff going on, and you gotta figure it out. As you can see right here, we have our seed. So you can get the random seed, and then the game will generate the same way if you use that same seed. So it's good for if you had a crazy run that you want to challenge your friends with. You can just challenge the seed, like, oh man, I got 17 of these crazy cards starting out. Like, hey, use my seed and see if you can get a better score. But right now we have a choice of choosing cards, and card choices are great. We can Wild Strike, 12 damage, but it adds a wound, which is an unplayable status card to a draw pile. We have Evolve, that whenever we get a status card, we draw an extra card, so that negates the bad draw of a status card. Or we get Armaments, gain 5 block and upgrade a card for the rest of combat. This is really good, especially when you upgrade Armament itself, then it upgrades your entire hand for the rest of combat. Ah yes, and then this event, the Big Fish. As you make your way down a long corridor, you see a banana, a donut, and a box floating about. I have to say that I love what they do with the text. How the word floating is floating and how the cackling is like shaking like that. I love it when games do that. That's an attention to detail that is just, it really does stand out. It's wonderful. No! Upon closer inspection, they are tied to strings coming from holes in the ceiling. There's a quiet cackling from above. As you approach the objects, what do you do? Well, if we get a random relic, it could be really good, but we'll get regret, which means we lose HP equal to the number of cards in our hand, and I don't think we can block that damage either. So that probably won't be good unless we can get rid of it at a shop, but we're not going to run into any shops on our current path because we want to get, you know, a couple of these big boys, a couple of these big elites, and we don't need to heal, so the logical progression would be to take the donut. You eat the donut, it really hits the spot. Your max HP increases. That's the end of the event. We'll go to another one. We find a shimmering mass of light encompassing the center of the room. Its warm glow and enchanting patterns invite you in, and we're going to take it. These events are, for the most part, pretty sweet. Losing 17 HP seems like a lot, but with the Ironclad, we gain 6 HP at the end of each combat. There are cards and stuff you can use to heal, and you can rest at the campfires. Ooh, that's a neat feature. You hover over it, and it highlights where they are. That's amazing. I love it. So, like, again, the UI in this game is spot on. Making sure that the player is fully informed with what's about to happen. So we can use one of our upgraded defends, and then we might as well block all the damage, and then trigger this louse. He's going to curl up, because that's their ability. Once per combat, they'll gain block after receiving an attack. And it even has a little animation for it, too, which is, again, the attention to detail is supreme. We're going to upgrade one of our strikes, because we can. It doesn't really matter, I just wanted to block that 5 damage coming in. And we'll bash him. Boom! There we go. So there are several archetypes for each of the deck, and they're all very well defined. One of them is the Perfected Strike deck, that you get these Perfected Strike cards that gain power based on how many cards in your deck have the word strike in it. So if I were to pick up that Perfected Strike, it would get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 additional damage. Maybe 12. I don't know if it counts itself or not. But that would be a pretty powerful attack. However, a lot of its power would come in keeping these basic cards, and aside from the upgraded versions, like, these basic cards suck. They're only there to get you started, and then you want to ditch them when you can. So I think Pommel Strike, 9 damage, it's the same as an upgraded Strike, but it also gives you a card draw, and we can upgrade it to make it even better. So that's good for us. See, he's going to start out by using a buff, so we're going to stack a debuff on him, make him vulnerable, and then do a bunch of damage, take advantage of the time that he's vulnerable. Maybe we can burst him down. In fact, I think thanks to that debuff, we can. Yay! And we're almost back up to full health. We occasionally will find these potions. These potions are one-time use items. This one will deal 20 damage to a target. And this is a power. Powers can be really good, but it really depends. This plays into the blocking archetype of the Ironclad. Almost called him the Juggernaut. where you build up a bunch of block and then you get a power that your block doesn't disappear at the end of the turn, and then really good stuff happens. Thunderclap applies vulnerable to all enemies, and it does 4 damage. I think, yeah, if we right click, we can view the upgrade. So the upgrade won't add more vulnerable, it'll just deal more damage. And I've also unlocked the beta art option that you can do once you get the true ending of the game for a certain class. But I played this so much that I recognize the cards first based on the image as opposed to based on the text. So it helps me play a little bit faster. So I'm going to just stick with this. And none of these really tickle my fancy too much, so I'm going to skip it and hope that I don't regret that choice. Let's take a moment to look at the settings. As you can see, we have plenty of sound settings. When you're grinding for those achievements, maybe turning the music off after a while and listening to some of your own will help you do that a little better. Yeah, playtester art mode. I actually don't know what that is, and it's not telling me as I hover over it. But fast mode, I'll turn that off for the rest of this video. I have it on to just go through the animations more quickly. Max frame rate can go up to 240, pretty sweet. And then you can bind controller and keyboard keys to it, which I'm using the mouse right now. So yeah, we'll skip our card, keep going. So the point of the game, ooh, that seemed like a fancy transition. Oh. Or maybe I'm just so used to fast mode that it seems really slow now. That's hilarious. Okay, so obviously the point of the game is to beat all the encounters. The block is great. It prevents damage to the HP, but it goes away at the end of each turn. So you can't build up a ton of block and then just attack. You have to carefully balance how much block you have versus how much attack damage you're doing. So this guy's going to use a buff, and it's a pretty nasty buff. So we're going to want to do a bunch of damage. This Bash Plus starting out in our hand is really good. We can combine that with the Strike to deal a lot of damage. Armaments is not a good choice here because it gives us 5 block, but it's irrelevant because the enemy's not going to attack us this turn. So obviously we aren't going to block. Even if we do upgrade a card, we're only upgrading a Strike. So we're just going to want to focus on damage and hope to burst them down quickly. As you can see, his buff, he will now gain 2 strength every time he plays a skill. And you're like, oh, what's strength? Well, it's pretty logical. Strength will increase the attack damage that he has. And the Ironclad also has a lot to do with buffing up strength. It's another one of his archetypes. We haven't ran into it yet, but it's there. So I could play 2 block, but he'll essentially gain 4 more attack power. So we're only getting 6 block out of that. And that's not very good, so I'm going to strike. And I have a fire potion if things get too saucy, so I will do 1 block, essentially blocking 3 of that damage, but also making it harder to survive more rounds. And these elites are tough, especially at the beginning, so you might end up just taking a lot of damage because of that. And that's to be expected. So we could block a little bit, or we could just throw our fire potion, and I think that's what we'll do. Because you can buy potions at shops. This was an elite, so we get some more money, and we get a relic. It's a happy flower. Look at him, he's so happy. And every 3 turns, you gain a Swirly Dew, which is energy, which you use to play cards. So every 3 turns, I'll be able to play essentially an extra card. So Limit Break is great if you have a bunch of buff cards, which we have not run into yet. It's a shame, because I love playing the Strength archetype. It's really good. Shrug It Off is great. You gain 8 block. That's an upgraded... It's an upgraded defend card. So it's basically like the Pommel Strike, except for defense. And you draw a card so it replaces itself. So we're going to take that. And then True Grit is good if you have a bunch of like garbage cards and you want to get rid of them. But we don't have any cards that create bad cards. That's one of the the exhaust archetype for the Ironclad. Let's see, Campfire we can upgrade, but I don't know if we need to. I'd rather spin the dice. I'd rather spin the dice! Throw the dice on some events and see what we get. In this case, we got really lucky and found a treasure chest. Okay. And we won't be taking this Sapphire Key. That's something I'll leave for you guys to discover when you play it for yourselves. It is definitely this becomes available once you beat the game at least once with all 3 of the classes. And then you can see what that does. I'll just play the sort of normal mode right now. Pen Nib. Every 10th attack you play deals double damage. And the great thing is, these relics keep track of it for you. And you'll actually get a little buff when this is about to go off. So, again, the amount of information this game conveys to the player is phenomenal, and I think that's one of the reasons why it caught on so quickly and why people love it so much, is there's no surprises. Everything is exactly as it says it is. This game never lies to you. And then that's a lot more than I can say about other card games like this that I've played, so that's really good. This enemy is going to attack for 10 damage, and there's an additional effect because he's a thief. Thievery! Looter steals 15 gold whenever it attacks. If you manage to kill the looter, you can get that gold back. However, if you wait too long, he's just going to run away with your gold. Now, we don't want that. So I'm thinking we shrug it off, hope to get a... Nope, we did not get our bash. As you can see here, here's all of our cards. This is not the order that we'll draw them. There's a special relic that lets you see the order in which you draw them, but... this is not the case. So I'm going to be a little more aggressive here because I don't want to lose out on a bunch of gold. And this is our discard pile. At the end of the turn, unplayed cards go to the discard. And then once your draw pile runs out of cards, then your discard is shuffled back into your draw pile. Pretty basic. Gonna bash him there. And then armaments to get a little bit of block. We'll upgrade Pummel Strike just cause. So yeah, your basic deck building mechanics here. Pretty simple to grasp once you sort of see it work a few times. As you can see, I tried to draw some and then I ran out of draw pile, so it just auto shuffled back into my draw pile. Let's see if we do that. That's 15 damage. So that'll bring it down to 8, and then Palmer Strike will deal 50. Yeah. And we draw 2 cards, we'll just use a regular strike. And he's like, no! So we have some choices. I like this power. You can tell the rarity by... and rarity is just how frequently you can expect to come across a card like this. By the color of the border, you can tell what type of card it is by the shape of the border. So as you can see, attacks kind of have a more pointy edge, kind of looks like a crest or a shield a little bit. The rounded squares are skills, and not always, but a lot of times skills give you block. That's a big component of skills. It's a little bit different depending on which class you're playing. This is obviously the most straightforward one, but the other ones are tons of fun too, and I highly recommend them. And then our powers are just big old circles, and we're going to get Metallicized, because that gives us block at the end of our turn. And that's amazing. We'll get another chest, and the Champion Belt. Whenever you apply Vulnerable, also apply 1 week. This is a relic that's exclusive to the Ironclad. So some of these you can get with any class, like the Pen Nib and the Happy Flower, whereas the Champion Belt, the Burning Blood, and there's a lot of other ones that are exclusive just to each character class. So there is a strong reason to experiment and play each one. So because I beat the game and I'm fighting Super Special Mode, this guy's on fire. Something special happens once you beat him, but otherwise it's just a buffed up elite. So we're going to Metallicize, and we're just going to set up here for a little bit. Maybe... oh, I should have Armament our Metallicized so we'd get more block at the end of each turn. That was a goof on my part. But we can at least shrug it off. He's sleeping for a few turns, and he won't wake up unless we break his armor, which will refresh every turn because he has Metallicize as well. So we want to wait until, like, we have the best possible hand for that. Like, I'm waiting until I can throw down this Bash, and then throw another attack like that Strike Plus. That will be a good turn to wake him up. So in that case, I'm just going to end my turn right here, and not worry about it. So he's going to wake up next turn regardless, and this is how we can get the jump on him, and essentially get two free turns of attacking him. So now he's stunned, he's going to miss his next turn. And boom. Like, one of the really, really strong points about this game is that you can succeed against any enemy combination with any deck archetype for the most part. There are some counters to certain deck archetypes for each class, especially at the end of the game. There's a boss that gets stronger the more powers you play, so if you have a power heavy build, it's going to be rough. But you're not automatically screwed over if that's the case. That was a good shot. And then we're going to get some block. And the next turn he's going to try to debuff us, so we're going to... Oh yeah, and when we applied the vulnerable, he got weakened thanks to our champion belt. That's even better. Oh, this was a bad hand for this turn. Because he's not attacking us, so we're free to hit him before he debuffs us. That's really bad. So I'm going to at least upgrade this strike to deal as much damage as I can. Yeah, so that's really cool. You get soft countered sometimes, depending on which deck archetype you're playing, but it's never like a super hard counter. Like, I can use a powers deck to beat the Woke Bloke, as they call that specific boss. Ooh, that was a gamble on my part, and it's going to cost me a little bit. I was hoping that despite the damage reduction, I'd be able to burst him down. But I'm just going to take some damage, that's fine. We'll recover 6 of it anyway. And as you can see here, that debuff was pretty nasty. My attack cards, there's a little red marker, meaning, hey, it's doing less than expected because I have -1 strength. Decreases attack damage, and dexterity decreases the block because I have -1 of that. So that's not great, but we will take some of it thanks to the Metallicize. And he's dead this turn. So, not a big deal. We get Wing Boots. That means we can change paths up to 3 times. Emerald Key, I'm not going to take it. Not going to do it. You have to discover that on your own. So this is interesting. AoE is good. We might need some AoE. Just hits all enemies. But the uppercut would be fun with the belt, because it applies 1 weak and 1 vulnerable, but because we apply vulnerable, it will apply an additional weak. And weak reduces the damage that they do. We'll take the cleave, because I could use the AoE. And we draw our cards. This guy's going to start off with an aggressive attack. And our Happy Flower triggers. So we actually have 4 energy to work with, which makes the game that much more... Oh yeah, easy. That much more... don't know. That much more enjoyable, really. Because the more energy you have, the more stuff you can do. I went too aggro there. I took damage when I probably shouldn't have. That was on me. So, you don't, like, you can't be mindless, obviously, or else you'll take a ton of damage, but hey, every time you lose HP from a card, you gain a strength. We don't have any cards that do that. Anger's interesting. The more you play it, the more angers you get, and it's free. It's great if you have the relic that will allow you to draw once your hand is empty, but if you empty your hand because there's nothing but angers in it, then, you know, it lessens the options and versatility of your deck. Flex, on the other hand, will give you a 2 strength buff for the turn, or if you upgrade it, it's a 4 strength buff. We went to a mystery event, and we actually ran into some enemies, which happens from time to time. But hey, look at that! That's 10 HP. That's 10 HP. Oh, and we have the pen nib too, that activated. So all of these people are just gonna get wrecked. First I'm gonna gain some strength. Just deal 20 damage, boom, you only got one shot. And then with that, what can we reward ourselves with? Rampage is a fun card. Every time you use the card, you increase the damage by 5 for each combat. So it just keeps getting stronger and stronger the longer the combat lasts. So this is the shop. The little shop guy. We'll see him when we click leave, I think. So whenever a card is exhausted, gain 3 block. We don't really have a use for that. Infernal Blade can be fun. You upgrade it and it costs 0, and then you get a random attack that costs 0 for that turn. True Grit, we're not really a fan of. Carnage is interesting. It deals 20 damage, but it's ethereal, which means if it's in your hand at the end of the turn, they're removed from your deck for the rest of combat. So that, it could be good, but it could also be bad. Bludgeon's interesting. We do have a lot of gold in our money pouch. There are 3 potions that you can choose from. These are neutral cards that any class can get. So Finesse is pretty good. It's just like, hey, gain 2 block, and you also get a card out of it, so it replaces itself, which makes it worth the zero energy cost. Because again, you have to be careful. If you play too many cards in one turn, you'll run out of cards to play, and then it's like, oh, I had a bunch of these 0 cost cards, but they were all really weak, so it didn't amount to much. But this is good, because it replaces itself. So that's tempting. The shovel, we can now dig for relics at rest sites. That could be a lot of fun. Lantern gives us a boost on the first turn. He likes our haircut, thank you. I'm surprised you could see it when I'm wearing a helmet, but hey, that's alright. Enter a meal ticket. When you enter a shop, heal 15 HP. This is a shop exclusive relic. There are some of those, and you can see them in your settings. What do I want to get rid of a card, though. I need to start paring down my deck, and I think I might do that. Let's see. A couple of defense, a couple of attacks, some strikes. I'm gonna take out a defend, and then I will take this finesse, and I can't really get any of the relics, which is a shame. But yeah, you saw the shop guy. Kooky, quirky. He's a shop guy. He's kooky. That's all there is to say about that. We're only going to take 1 damage, strength to our champion's belt. Yes! And then finesse. It'll draw us a new card. Yay. We'll flex. Show them how swole we are. Pommel strike, see what we get. If we 11 and 10. Yeah, so thanks to our flex, we just got an extra 6 damage out of things. Plus the multiplier of the 50%. So basically an extra 9 damage, which helped us end things pretty quickly. And this is essentially the loop. You'll find cards. There are tons of cool ones to exhaust, great relics. You can get some bonkers combos that the game's not afraid to give you a combination that sort of breaks the game, which I really like, because I'm going to take the Iron Wave. It's decent. You get attack and defend from it. Yeah, I'm not going to get this key. Before the boss, I would say we don't really need to rest up too much, and after the boss, we'll heal back up to full HP anyway. So I think I'm going to upgrade something. What would I like to upgrade? Rampage. Flex, good. Yeah, that just gives us 2 more block. Armaments Plus. I said this was amazing when it's upgraded, so I should probably use it. And we'll fight the Hexaghost, and then I think I'll wrap things up after that. There's so much to like. The art style is interesting. It's certainly, I didn't used to like it very much, but it's certainly grown on me a lot. And they've definitely improved the special effects and stuff. They've added a ton of different potions, so now we have plated armor, where at the end of our turn, we will receive the 4 block, but if we get hit by attack damage, it will reduce it by 1. So it gets weaker the more we actually get hit. I will bash, and then I think I'll metallicize. I kind of wanted to shrug it off to see if we got the Armaments Plus and then metallicize, but That's too big of a risk, and we might as well just play it safe for now. There's no reason to be risky. Flex. I wish we could have that weak. So this is the pattern of the boss. Basically, he'll attack for his initial attack damage is based on how much HP you currently have, and then he will do 6 different attacks. He or it or she or they, whatever you want to refer to Hexaghost as. It will then do 6 turns of just different attacks in a pattern, and then it'll do this again, but it'll be a little more swole. So I'm going to get some block there, going to get some more block this boss fight, so maybe we prioritize blocking. We're going to lose a lot of our plated armor though, so this boss kind of soft counters the whole plated armor thing. Like, we lost all of it from that attack, but hey, sometimes it happens. Ooh, we're going to get that revenge off, and then we're going to defend that. And we still have our regular metallicized, so that's good. And obviously the stacks, so the more metallicized cards you get, the more you can stack this up too. And that's also a ton of fun. I love games that let you stack effects like that. Like, you're going to have a good time. You just are. See, we can bash him again, and then Pommel Strike, because it does more damage. Oh, there's our Rampage. Kind of wish I didn't Pommel Strike there and wait until next turn. But we were in a good position to just attack. So this guy added some status cards. Burns, because the Ghost Fire is very, very hot. And what that does is makes us take 2 damage at the end of our turn if it's still in our hand. Which it will be, because we can't play it. There is a relic that you can buy that lets you play these status cards and get rid of them, which is also amazing. I'm thinking we block once, that way we negate all of the damage thanks to our Metallicize. So you can see, even though it's 3 block, it really does some work. And obviously, you get more Metallicizes, and it's even better from there. This is a good time for a flex, because he's going to defend and also give himself a buff, which makes him more swole. We want to kill him before he gets too swole to control, but he's already at half health. We're going to strength up, get our flex so we can go full offense. It's 11, that's 10, that's 8, plus the 50%. And then I'm thinking we will hopefully be drawing our bash plus next turn to apply another weak and some more vulnerable. It's a shame that we didn't, because our Happy Flower went off, so we actually have the extra mana to get away with playing something more powerful. But hey, that's the rough. Ooh, if I was paying attention to this, I could have planned the attack better. I could have played that Rampage at double damage. That's something to keep in mind. Like, there's a lot that you can really do to keep in mind and like maximize your gameplay. Like, this game goes deep. There's a reason why so many people are obsessed with it. And, you know, it should be pretty obvious by now that I like it. There is very little to nitpick about it at this point. Obviously, I've played 200 hours of it. I've heard all the music, like, for many, many more of those hours than I think most people would have the music on for. So, you know, that can kind of get a little bit old. But if you're playing this for the first time, it's not going to bother you. Yeah, so now we have upgraded burn cards. That's going to hurt a lot. So we have 6 burns in our deck. We're going to draw into them more frequently. So we're going to want to get rid of that. Oh yeah, weakened them. It's good. And there we go. The first of 3 acts. Or is it? Power potions, that's fun. It gives you a random 0-cost power. I love that they added these potions. There's one for skills and one for attacks as well. And we get a rare card because it was a boss. So it is gold. And we get a relic because we beat a boss. These boss relics are usually very, very powerful. But as you can see, they sometimes have a downside to them, because otherwise it would just be broken. Like Mark of Pain, it gives you an extra energy, so now you have 4 energy at the start of your turn, each turn. But there are 2 wounds that are shuffled into your draw pile. If you have an exhaust deck, though, then this downside suddenly becomes an upside, and that's the cool thing about it. Runic Dome. You can no longer see enemy intents. Not recommended for new players, but if you played it as long as I have, you can just, like, you learn all the patterns, you know what to expect, and you can just sort of snowball from there if you have a good enough deck. So it becomes irrelevant once you already memorize all of the enemy attack patterns. And an Astrolabe. This is fun. Transform 3 cards and then upgrade them. If you don't have anything else to do, you can just sort of transform your basic cards into upgraded good cards. And then check out, it shows you in your deck the order in which you receive the cards. So it's like, oh, what cards did I get? Well, it's the last 3 here. Twin Strike Plus, really good. Combust is an interesting power, a little bit situational. And then Body Slam deals damage equal to your block. It's great in a block deck. We don't have a whole lot of block going on, so that's not really that great for our deck. But that is Slay the Spire in a nutshell for you. You just go through the city, and then the final bit, unless that's really not the final bit. So if you haven't picked this up, I highly, highly recommend it. And you know what else I recommend? Besides liking the video and subscribing to the Overlord Empire, this very same YouTube channel, is going to overlordempire.com or patreon.com/theoverlordempire and subscribing there to get some cool updates and other Patreon stuff. You've heard of Patreon, you know what it does, you know what people do, I do the same thing. Hey, there you go. Also, follow me on Twitter. I want more Twitter followers. It should be on your screen now. Unless I'm just really bad at following my own instructions while editing. And with that being said, be sure to share this video with your friends and family and maybe post it on Reddit or something. Yeah, fuse for the glory of Demonkind.